A very warm welcome everyone. Today in this class we are continuing Unit 2, Classification of Living Beings under the subject Science and Technology. Now, before beginning with this class, I want to ask you guys a question. Now look at these two videos. Can you guys see or guess what organism these are? These are sponges and corals. You guys must have said either both are sponges or both are corals, but wrong. If you look closely, you can see that these are sponges and these have this large pores which we studied as, yes, osculums. And these are the corals. This belong to the separate phylum that we'll study about now, that these are the Coelenteratas. Now when you look at this too, it might look similar at first, but when you look closely you can see that in case of these sponges, their surface looks porous because the body is covered by minute pores called as ostia, and they look like a sponge. That's why the poriferas are also known as sponges. But these are corals. Now when you look at the corals, they feel hard and they form this complex patterns and branches. So when you see organism like this is how you can distinguish between the porifera and the phylum Coelenterata. Now let us begin by studying about the phylum Coelenterata. Now the phylum Coelenterata is also known as Cnidaria. Now this Coelenterata words come from three words. Now this Coelenterata can be divided into three words. Sil, enter, ata. So this sil or col comes from the word coleus, which means hollow. Enter comes from the word enteron, which means intestine, and ata comes from the word ata, which means group. So from the name itself we can understand that this is the group of animals which have long hollow intestine in their body. That's why their name is Coelenterata. Now it also has another name, Cnidaria. Now this Cnidaria comes from the word nide, which means stinging or irritating nature of these cells. Now they have this stinging cells, which I'll show you guys in further slides. Now due to the presence of nidae in their body, they got the name Cnidaria. Now area means group or collection. So the group of organism that has nidae is also considered as Cnidaria. So this phylum has two names, Coelenterata due to its hollow intestine and Cnidaria due to its stinging cells present in their body. Now, the word Coelenterata was coined by Leuckert in 1847, and this phylum includes about 3,500 species. Now let us study about a few characteristics, important characteristics of the animals that belong to this phylum. So the first characteristic we'll study is they are multicellular organism with a central cavity, hence the name Coelenterata. Now, this is an example of the Coelenterata. It is a hydra. Now, when you cut this hydra from this portion and you look at its cavity inside, you can see that the transverse section gives this kind of structure. Now, suppose this is the hydra, you cut it from this side and then you take this part out and you look at it like this, then this is known as the transverse section. So the transverse, that diagram. Now this diagram is the transverse section of hydra. Now when you look at it, you can see there is presence of this central cavity, this hollow cavity. So that's why hydra is also a Coelenterata. Now they have tissue grade of body organization. Now what grade of body organization did the phylum Porifera had? Yes, they had the cellular grade of body organization. They did not have tissue in them. But when you reach the phylum Coelenterata, the organisms has evolved and now tissues have started to form. So they have the tissue grade of body organization. Now they are diploblastic animals. What is a diploblastic animal? Yes, the animal that has two germ layers in the body, the ectoderm and the endoderm. Now that's why this Coelenterata are known as diploblastic animal. Now the layer between this ectoderm and endoderm in the case of Coelenterata are known as mesoglia. Now this is non-cellular gelatinous layer in the body wall of the Coelenterata that sits between the ectoderm and the endoderm. Now, what is a coelom? Yes, it is a body cavity that is lined by mesoderm. But you can see here, since this is a diploblastic animal, it does not contain the mesoderm, that is the middle germ layer. So due to the absence of middle germ layer, it surely cannot possess a true coelom, because coelom should be lined by the mesoderm. That's why the animal are known as acoelomate. That is, it does not have coelom in their body. Now they have radial symmetry. Now we can divide this organism like this into two mirror parts. We can also divide it like this into two mirror parts, like this into two mirror parts. In any way, radially, we can divide it into two mirror images. So that's why we can say that they have radial symmetry. Now, mostly marine and few freshwater. Now, they are aquatic organism which most of them live in salty water, that is marine, and few of them live in fresh water, the water that contains less amount of salt. Now, they have stinging cells called as cnidoblast. Now, I've already mentioned that Coelenterata is also called as cnidaria. Cnidaria due to the presence of stinging cells called the cnidoblast. Now the function of this cnidoblast is for defense. So if some organism they try to attack it, they just sting their enemy so that they can protect themselves. Not only that, if they are hunting for prey, they find their prey, they sting their prey, paralyze it, and then they eat them. So that is another function of the cnidoblast. Another function is for anchorage, that is to attach itself to a certain place they want to attach. So they use this cnidoblast to attach themselves as well. So defense, capture, and anchorage is the primary function of the cnidoblast. Now I'll show you guys how cnidoblast lies in their body. Now this is a small part of their body wall. This is the endoderm. This is mesoglia. And this is the ectoderm. And inside ectoderm lies this cnidoblast cell. Now, there is this thread-like structure. And this is hair-like projection. Now this hair-like projection is very sensitive. And if this hair-like structure it gets irritated, this cnidocyst it just blasts out and it gives us. Now we are zooming in this cell. Now this is the same hair-like structure. Now this outward projection is called as barb, and this is the same thread-like structure that kept this barb inside the cnidocyst. Now this barb it stings the cell and it has all this projection, and this thread-like structure, it inserts in the toxin that is present in this cell, so that it can paralyze the prey, or it can also irritate any organism that is trying to threaten them. Now this is the structure of nidoblast. Now let us study about other few characteristics of Coelenterata as well. They have blind sac body plan, which means that it has this pouch-like structure that only has one single opening. That is known as blind sac structure. Blind means it only has one opening. Now that opening is called as mouth. As you can see over here, this is a mouth, and inside it has this blind sac-like structure because it does not have any other pores in the body. Now this mouth, it takes in food, and this mouth, it excretes any undigested food particle as well. So that's why this type of digestive system is also called as incomplete digestive system, because a complete digestive system possesses a mouth, intestine and anus, but it only possesses this mouth and a sac-like structure. So that's why they have incomplete digestive system. Now, Coelenterata, they possesses primitive type of nervous system, which is also known as diffused nervous system. As you can see in this diagram, the nerves are diffused all over this body of Hydra. Now this is the first phylum that has the nervous system. Because we studied that the poriferans, they did not have any nervous system or nervous cell. Now this Coelenterata, they have primitive type of nervous system. Now the respiration and process of excretion occurs by general body surface. Now in Coelenterata, we said that the mouth serves as the primary way to ingest the food and expel the food as well. So expel the undigested food as well, making it a blind sac body plan. Now the tentacles that the Coelenterata have, they use the tentacles to guide the prey inside their mouth, and it enters into the cavity. Hence the name Coelenterata, hollow cavity is present inside the body. Now it enters into the cavity, and in which all the digestion occurs and the undigested particles are expelled out. Now that is only in the case of food. Now the general body surface, it excretes other particles as well, such as the metabolic waste of the respiration process or any other process except eating food or except the digestive system. There are other system that also excrete some waste materials. So all these excretions are excreted through the general body surface. Now the respiration, it occurs by the process of diffusion. Now what is the diffusion process? Yes, diffusion is the process of transport of the particles from higher concentration to a lower concentration. So if they have high concentration of certain kind of metabolic waste and the water around it has low concentration of it, it can easily excrete out these excretory materials. And in the case of respiration as well, they can take in oxygen because the oxygen is in higher amount in the water around it or inside it. Now these tentacles, it also helps in water current, that is it allows the fresh water to enter inside, so that the food particles can enter inside the body, and high oxygenated waters and stuffs can also enter into the body, so that they can get all the nourishment they need. So everything occurs through the respiration, and the excretion occurs by general body surface. Now their sexes are united or separated, which means they can either be unisexual, that is individual organisms have male and female reproductive organs, whereas they might also be hermaphrodite, that means the same organism will have both male and female reproductive organs. Now let us talk about the sexual and asexual reproduction. Now the asexual reproduction can occur by budding or by fission. Now Coelenterata have very high regeneration capability. For example, Hydra. If you break Hydra into pieces and pieces, each individual pieces will give rise to a new organism. And the another asexual mode of reproduction is budding. In budding, what happens is small bud-like structure, it appears from the parent body and it slowly grows and it grows again until it detaches itself from the parent body, and this new bud, it gives rise to the new organism. So this is also another mode of asexual reproduction. Now sexual reproduction, it occurs by gamete formation. Now let us look at a few examples of the organism belonging to this phylum. So we have Hydra. Sea anemone is also an example of Coelenterata. Corals are also the examples of Coelenterata, and jellyfish are also the examples of Coelenterata. Now let us study about another phylum, the Platyhelminthes. Now when you look at these images and videos, what similarities can you see in them? Yes, they have this flat body-like structure. That's why this phylum is also given the name Platyhelminthes, from the word platy and helminthes. Platy means flat and helminthes mean worm. So all the worms that have flat body-like structure belongs to Platyhelminthes, and the Platyhelminthes are also collectively called as flatworms. Now, Gaugenborg, he coined the term Platyhelminthes in 1859, and there are about 15,000 species that belongs to the phylum Platyhelminthes. Now, let us look at certain characters or characteristic of this phylum. Now, when you look at the figure here, you can see that it has this flat body, and the liver fluke also have this flat body. So the first character would be they have flat either leaf-like structure, as you can see over here, or long ribbon-like structure, as you can see over here. So that's why they are also called as flatworm. So their body is dorso-ventrally flattened. So let me show you what that means. Suppose this is an organism. Now the dorsal side means the back side. If we are a human being, this is our dorsal side and this is our ventral side, the front side and the back side. So suppose this is a flatworm. Now this is the dorsal side and this is the ventral side. Now there is another two side as well, the anterior side and the posterior side. Now the position of head is the anterior side and the position of the legs are the tail are the posterior side. So this is the dorsal side, this is the ventral side. Now the organism are dorso-ventrally flattened. So it is flat from this side, so giving us this thin flat structure. So that's why these organisms are called as dorso-ventrally flattened. Now they are mostly endoparasites. That is, endo means inner and parasites mean those who depend on their host for survival or for nutrition. So endoparasite means these organisms, they live inside the host body and they get nourishment from the host body. And only a few of them are free living. Now free living animals are those type of animals that does not depend on other organism for their survival. Now their body is unsegmented or pseudo-segmented. So what does the word pseudo means? Yes, it means false. So false segment. So some of the organisms, they are clearly unsegmented, but some of the organisms, they look like they have segments, but actually it's a false segment. They are triploblastic animals. That means they have all three germ layers, the ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm as well. Now, the organism before platyhelminthes were diploblastic, and now the animals are triploblastic animal. So we can see that slowly the evolution is beginning. The organism are being more complex and complex. Now, they are ocelomate, even though they have the mesodermal layer in them, but it does not have a body cavity that the mesoderm lines it all over. So that's why the organisms are ocelomate. Now, another property is their mouth is in the anterior ventral surface. Now, from here you can see this is the anterior surface, this is the ventral surface. So this region is known as the anterior ventral region. So mouth is present in this region, the anterior ventral region. The mouth on the anterior ventral surface, and sucker is present around the mouth, aiding them to attach to the host body. Now, this is the head of a tapeworm, and these structures are called as suckers. You can see over this protruding structures are suckers, and this above part is known as the rostrum, and rostrum possesses this hook-like structures in two different rows. Now, the suckers, it helps the tapeworm to attach it to the intestinal wall so that it can absorb the nourishment from it as well. So they ingest food from the intestine through suckers as well. Now, this hook-like structure, it helps in attaching to the intestinal wall very strongly, because whenever there is some bowel movements, the tapeworm should attach themselves very firmly so that it will not detach itself from the intestine and come out with the fecal matter. So for that reason, this hook-like structure is present, so it can anchor itself very strongly in the intestine. Now you guys must wonder, we eat all those meat kind of meats and all, but our body digests it. Now how can this entire parasite, it lives inside our body, and yet the chemicals and enzymes present in our body cannot break them down? Do you know why our body cannot break them down? Yes, it's because it has this protective cuticle all around its body, so that protects itself from harsh acids and enzymes that is present in our body. That's why our body cannot break them down as well. Now, the alimentary canal is absent, and if it is present, it is incomplete. Now, can you guys guess why the alimentary canal is absent in the parasitic forms? I hope you guessed it right, because these are parasites. Now, they do not really need to digest anything, because they will suck all the digested particles from our body. So, they do not need an entire complex digestive system so that they should digest the particle, because they are taking in already digested particles. So, that's why the alimentary canals in them are absent. And if it is present, it is incomplete. In certain free forms, the digestive system may be present, but it is incomplete, meaning it only has mouth, but it does not have anus. That is blind sac body plan. Now, they have organ grade of body organization, which means they have organs have organs, but they do not yet possess any organ system. Now, you can see that the phylum before Platyhelminthes, the coelentrates, had tissue grade of body organization. Now the organisms have slowly evolved, and when it reached to the phylum Platyhelminthes, they now have started to develop organ. So they have organ grade of body organization. Now another characteristic is symmetry. Now you can see that this organism can be easily divided into two mirror images by one in single plane. So they have bilateral symmetry. They have primitive nervous system which is ladder-like. As you can see here, they have this pair of cerebral ganglia, and it gives out this longitudinal nerve cords, and these longitudinal nerve cords have this transverse nerve cord, giving us this ladder-like structure. So they have this primitive nervous system. Now, respiration occurs through general body surface. Now, their body surface is flat, dorsoventrally flattened. So, it's really flat. So, and the surface area is also very high. So, the process of diffusion for the gaseous exchange or for nutrition distribution, it's very easy because the body is very flat. So, diffusion is much more easier. Since the diffusion process is much more easier, they do not really need a complex circulatory and respiratory system because diffusion can easily occur in these organisms. So they do not have any circulatory organs or system or respiratory system as they respire through their general body surface. Now, the organisms, they are mostly hermaphrodite, means the male and the female gamete, they lie in the same organism, and copulatory organ is present and fertilization is internal. So, male copulatory organ is distinctly visible in these organisms and the fertilization is internal. Now, if the sperm fertilizes an egg outside the female body, then it is called as external fertilization because fertilization is occurring externally, that is outside the female body. But if the fertilization occurs inside the female body, if the sperm fertilizes the egg inside the female body, then it is known as internal fertilization. Now, in the case of Platyhelminthes, internal fertilization occurs. So, the sperm fertilizes the egg within the female body. Now, the examples of Platyhelminthes are the liver fluke, blood fluke, tapeworm, planarian, etc. Now, let us study about another phylum, the Aschelminthes or Nemathelminthes. Now, the word Aschelminthes comes from two words, ascos and helminthes. Now, ascos means sac and helminthes means worm. So, they have this sac-like, the organism or the animal have this sac-like structure. Now, it also have another name, the Nemathelminthes. Now, nema means thread and helminthes means worm. So, they have this thread-like structure. So, they are also known as threadworms. And thread means it have this round structure. So, the body is cylindrical. So, that's why they are also called as roundworms. Now, Platyhelminthes had flat body, so they are also collectively called as flatworms. The Porifera had sponge-like body, so they were also collectively known as sponges. Similarly, the Nemathelminthes have round body, so they are also called as roundworms. Now, they also have another name, Aschelminthes, which means sackworm, because their body resembles this tubular sac-like structure with mouth at one end and anus at the other end as well. So, this tubular sac-like structure also gave it the name Aschelminthes. Now, these phylum, the Nemathelminthes, includes about 1,000 species. Now, let us study about certain characteristics of this phylum. Now, from the name itself, we understood that they have this cylindrical body. So, they have this elongated cylindrical body with tapering ends. Now, what tapering end means? It has the cylindrical body and it has this tapering end, means this type of structure. So, this is the basic structure of the animal belonging to the phylum Nemathelminthes. They have cylindrical body with tapering ends. As you can see here in hookworm as well, it has cylindrical body and it has this tapering end. Now, most of the organisms are parasitic in nature, and few of them are free living. Now, this roundworm, you can see it lives as a parasite inside this girl's body. So they are parasitic. Only a few of the nemathelminthes are free living, that is, they do not depend on any other organism for their survival. Now, inside this intestine, it survives all those chemicals and all those acids our body produces, because it has this thick cuticle that covers its body and protects it from the harsh condition of the host body. They have bilateral symmetry. Now, if we straighten this hookworm, and then we can see that we can clearly divide it in one single plane, giving it two mirror images. I'll show you guys over here. Now, I just showed you. This is the basic structure of nemathelminths. Now, it can be divided like this, that is bilateral symmetry. This side and this side shows that it's identical, and it can only be divided into single plane into two identical pieces. So they have bilateral symmetry. Now, they are triploblastic in nature, means it has all three germinal layers, the endoderm, the mesoderm, and the ectoderm present in their body. Now, they have organ system grade of body organization. Now, we studied that in the phylum Platyhelminthes, they have organ grade of body organization only. They did not have any organ system. But now nemathelminthes have evolved, and now they have organ system grade of body organization. Now, they are pseudocoelomate. Now, pseudocoelomate means that the coelom looks like it is covered by the mesoderm, but it is not entirely covered by the mesoderm. So it will confuse someone. That's why it is also known as false coelomate. So pseudocoelomate, as I showed you previously, now this is the ectoderm. Now this layer is the mesodermal layer, and then we have this inner layer, which is coelom, and this innermost layer is the endoderm. Now you can see that this coelom is lined by mesoderm in one part, but you can see that in the inner layer it is covered by the endoderm only. So it looks like the mesoderm covers this coelom, this cavity. So some of them confuses it to be true coelom, but actually it is pseudocoelom, because only certain part of the cavity is covered by the mesodermal layer. That's why the animal that is belonging to this phylum has pseudocoelom. So due to the presence of pseudocoelom, they are also known as pseudocoelomate. Their nervous system is well developed. Now, the nervous system had started to develop since the phylum Coelenterata, and Coelenterata also had nervous system. Platyhelminthes also had this ladder-like nervous system, and when it reached to the nemathelminthes, the nervous system was well developed. Now, they also have developed digestive system. Now, the organism before nemathelminthes did not have developed digestive system. They had incomplete digestive system. But from nemathelminthes, they have complete digestive system with mouth, pharynx, intestine, and anus. Now, another feature is respiratory and circulatory system are still absent. Now, the organism before nemathelminthes also did not possess the respiratory and circulatory system. Now, the nemathelminthes yet also has not developed respiratory and circulatory system. So, they respire through their general body surfaces through diffusion. No, they are unisexual. That is, male and female reproductive organs are present in two different bodies. So they have, so they also show this distinct sexual dimorphism. Now I'll show you guys an example of Ascaris lumbricoids. So now these both are Ascaris lumbricoids. Now this is a male Ascaris. It has this penile seta. And this is a female Ascaris lumbricoids. This is female and this is male. And it has this reproductive pore. Now, by looking at the organism, we can clearly distinguish whether it is a male or a female. Now, this male also has a curved tail and it is a little smaller than the female. So, these organisms show distinct sexual dimorphism. So, by looking at the organism, we can clearly distinguish if it is a male or a female. So, the animal belonging to this phylum has distinct sexual dimorphism. Now, the examples are Ascaris, hookworm, pinworm, etc. Now, we have already studied about 3 phylums in this class, and we also studied about one phylum, the Porifera, in the previous class. Now, I'll ask you guys some questions related to all these 4 phylums so that I can see if you have understood what I have taught you guys until now or not. Now, the first question I have for you guys is, you have to find the correct and the incorrect arguments from all of these following points. So, the first argument that I have for you guys is, Coelenterata are fixed with the underwater object. Is this correct? No, it's incorrect, because the poriferans are the organisms which are fixed to the substratum. They are sedentary, but Coelenteratas are not. So this is incorrect. Now another question. Poriferans have ostia and osculum on their body. Is this correct? Yes, it's correct, because we studied that the poriferas has this large opening called the osculum and many minute opening all over the body called as the ostia. So the argument 2 is correct. Now I have another argument. The coelentrates have incomplete digestive tract having only mouth but no anus. Is this correct? Yes, it's correct, because they have incomplete digestive system and blind sac body plan having only mouth. The mouth, it takes in food and it also ejects out the undigested food particles as well. So this argument 3 is correct. Now argument 4. Poriferans have special stinging cells which is used to paralyze the prey. Is this correct? No, it's incorrect, because this is the characteristic features of the phylum. Yes, Coelenterata. So it is not the poriferans that have the special stinging cells. It is the coelentrates that have the special stinging cells that it used to paralyze the prey. Now I have an MCQ for you guys. So which of the 4 options that I'll show you guys is a nemathelminthus? We have Obelia, liverfluke, Ascaris, and tapeworm. So which among these is a nemathelminthus? Yes, it's the Ascaris. I also showed you the distinct sexual dimorphism under the phylum Nemathelminthus, giving the example of Ascaris lumbricoids. So Ascaris is the organism that belongs to the phylum Nemathelminthus. Now another question for you guys. You again have to find the correct and incorrect arguments from the options, these 4 options. Now the first option I have for you guys is, sucker and hook are present in the organism of the phylum Nemathelminthus. Is this correct? No, it's incorrect. Even though Nemathelminthus is also a parasite, the sucker and hook are present in the phylum Aschelminthus. I showed you the diagram of hookworm also. Hookworm belongs to the phylum Aschelminthus. So the suckers and hook are present in the organisms of the phylum Aschelminthus, not Nemathelminthus. So the first argument is incorrect. Now the second argument, most of the organisms of Platyhelminthes are endoparasite, but only some of them are free living. Is this correct? Yes, it's correct, because I also mentioned that the Platyhelminthes, most of them are endoparasite. Endo means inside, inner layer, and parasite means the organism who are parasitic, that goes inside the host body. So they are endoparasite. The exoparasites are those parasites like mosquitoes and the tick worms that are parasitic from external surfaces, from the external body. So they are called as the exoparasite. But the organism that is present inside our body and have parasitic tendency, then they are called as endoparasite. So these option is also correct. I have another option. Organisms of phylum Nemathelminthus have complete digestive system. Is this correct? Yes, it's correct, because the phylum Nemathelminthus is the first phylum that has the complete digestive system. It has mouth, anus, pharynx, as well as intestine in between mouth and anus. So it has a complete digestive system. Now the fourth argument, hermaphrodite animals have either the male reproductive organ or the female reproductive organ. Is this correct? No, it's incorrect, because hermaphrodite are those animals that has both male reproductive organ and female reproductive organ in the same body. So those are hermaphrodite animal. The animals which have male reproductive and female reproductive organ in two different bodies, then they are called as unisexual animals. But hermaphrodite means both the reproductive organ are present in the same body. Hence, the fourth argument is incorrect. Now, I have final question for you guys. I have a statement. The organism of the phylum Platyhelminthus have long cylindrical and unsegmented body tapering at both ends. Now, the first argument is their alimentary canal is incomplete, having only one opening. And we also have a second argument from another person, that is, they are unisexual animal, that is, male and female are separate. So whom among these three people are correct, or how many people are correct? Now let us see. Now this girl says that the organism of the phylum Platyhelminthus have long cylindrical and unsegmented body at tapering end. Is this correct? Okay, let's look at it. Now, Platyhelminthus does not have a cylindrical body, because it has platy means flat, helminthus with worm. Helminthus means worm, so flatworms. So it has flat body. So this is incorrect. So if it is partially incorrect, the statement is already incorrect. But let us see more. Unsegmented body. Yes, Platyhelminthus also has unsegmented or pseudosegmented body, tapering at both ends. Now, when you look at it closely, it is the feature of Nemathelminthus, not Platyhelminthus. So this statement is incorrect. Now let us look at the argument given by this person. The alimentary canal of the Platyhelminthus is incomplete, having only one opening. Is this true? Yes, it's true, because Platyhelminthus has only mouth and it does not have anus. It is Nemathelminthus that has complete digestive system. So this girl is correct. Now we have the second argument from this guy. Now they are unisexual animal, that is male and female are separate. So are Platyhelminthus unisexual animals? No, they are not. They are hermaphrodites. That is, both the male and female reproductive organs are present in the same body. So from this we can say that which option is correct among this four? Yes, the fourth option, that is only argument 1 is correct. This class we studied about 3 different phylums, the Coelenterata, the Platyhelminthes and the Nemathelminthes. Now in coming classes we'll talk about all the remaining phylums as well. So I'll see you guys in next class.